Today's topic is input tax credit. Now, as we all know that ITC means at the time of paying tax on output, you can reduce down the tax you have already paid on inputs and pay the balance amount. So by this way, we can use the credit of the tax that has already been paid by the recipient to the supplier at the time of paying off the taxes on the input supplies, and this credit can be utilized by the recipient when he is making his output supplies, or you can say outward supplies. So now ITC, what is ITC? That concept, you know, that you know what is ITC and what is how the credit is being done. Now we will be taking up in detail that how this process is being done and what are the clauses or provisions related to this ITC. Now, as you know that ITC you can claim for, as you can see in the second point, it says ITC or the tax paid for input goods, input services, and input capital goods, which simply means here that under these three types of taxes, you can take the credit. Like input goods. Input good means when you are having any sort of input supplies for the purpose of your like production purpose, or input services, like you have purchased any sort of services which is used as the input service in your organization, or it can be the input capital goods. Input capital goods means here that you are purchasing any sort of asset which is further being used by the business organization for their production purpose, for their business purpose, for the course of business or the furtherance of business. Then such capital goods will be used, or you can say these on such capital goods you can claim ITC for under the purchases. So for the purpose of ITC, any input goods, any input services, or any input capital goods, all these three types of taxes, when you pay on the purchase of these things, you can claim ITC for such goods or the services. Next, eligibility for availing ITC. Eligibility for availing ITC here means that who all is eligible to get the benefit of ITC or can claim for ITC. One, it should be the registered person. Of course, you can say that input tax credit is available only to a registered person. Like when a registered person is supplied with goods or services or both on which tax has been charged, then obviously he is allowed to take credit of the input tax that he has paid. So if a person is registered, he is eligible to take the like ITC benefit, and if the person is unregistered, he will not be eligible to claim the input tax credit. Then second point, it says in the course of or in furtherance of business. In the course or in furtherance of business here means that if the goods or the services they are used in the course of a business or the furtherance of business, then only you will be eligible to take the ITC benefit of such goods or the services. No such credit is available in respect of inputs used for output supply of exempted goods or services. If in case you have purchased any goods or the services which is used for the outward supply of exempted goods or services, as I told you previously also when we were discussing the different types of supplies and different terms under supplies, like I told you, nil rated supply, exempted supply, zero rated supply. So what is happening here is that if you are supplying the goods which are exempted, in that case, may it be possible that your inward supply is in the course of a business or in furtherance of business, but since it is related to the outward supply which is exempted, then you are not in a position to claim the ITC. Though you are a registered person, but still the supplies that you are doing is of exempted supplies. So on such exempted supplies, whatever tax you had paid for the inward supplies, you are not eligible to take the credit for those taxes, right? Then next is the credit ledger. The amount, you can simply say that the amount of ITC shall be credited to the electronic credit ledger who is on the account of the person who is entitled to take the ITC benefit. So if there is no update in the portal, no update on the portal in respect to the person who is claiming ITC, then you will not be eligible to take up the benefit. Then manner of utilization here means that as I told you previously, that if you have different categories of GST, IGST, SGST, CGST, UTGST maybe. So whatever is the category of tax you are having credit of, you can utilize that credit accordingly as per the manner specified by the GST Act. So that utilization is clearly given there, that in which way you need to utilize that credit, and that is the only way you can utilize your credit of different categories of GST that you have already uh, claimed. Then rules under CGST rule 2017, there are certain restrictions, you can say certain conditions which have been given under this chapter that we will be taking up in detail in the coming sessions. So that simply means that there is rule number 36 and rule 45, which clearly defines the certain provisions or the conditions or restrictions in reference to the availability of ITC to a particular person. So that we need to discuss in detail. I'll tell you in the future sessions. So for now, you can say that eligibility for availing ITC is available to the registered person, and that in reference to the supplies he is claiming ITC, that supply should be in the course of or in furtherance of business, except the exempted supplies. If the person is supplying exempted goods, then whatever in tax he has paid on his inward supplies, on that he cannot claim ITC. Then credit ledger, it simply means that the person who is entitled to take the ITC, on his credit ledger there should be the balance for which he is claiming ITC. So his credit ledger should be updated, and accordingly he can avail the credit for ITC. Then manner of utilization, that simply means that you know very well that how that ITC can be utilized under the different categories of GST. So accordingly, IGST or CGST or SGST or UTGST, whatever credit you have on your account, you have to utilize as per the manner that we have already discussed in the previous sessions. Then next is conditions for availing ITC. First condition that whatever is the situation, whatever is the condition that you need to have while you claim your ITC, while you want to while you need to claim your ITC, what all are the conditions that has to be there? First, possession of tax invoice or debit note. You know this very well, we have discussed this in the previous sessions also, that possession of tax invoice or the debit note will only make you eligible to take the ITC. Like tax invoice is simply a proof that this much is the amount of GST that you have already paid to your supplier, or the debit note. If in the tax invoice the liability was less, then accordingly the debit note will be issued. So tax invoice and also the debit note, on the basis of these two documents only you can claim your ITC. Then receipt of goods and services, you have to be there to receive the goods and the services, like goods or the services has actually been supplied to you and you have received those goods and services. Then next is payment of tax to the government. See, this is a very essential condition under the, you can say, conditions for availing ITC, that payment of tax has been done to the government. Like it is the responsibility, you all know very well that it is the responsibility of your supplier to pay the tax. So obviously, while claiming your ITC, it is necessary that the supplier has actually made the payment to the government in reference to the goods or the services for which you are claiming your ITC. So this payment can be done, you know very well, this payment can be done by the supplier either by making the payment through cash, or you can say through utilization of ITC. You know very well, under payment of taxes, we have already studied this, that the payment of tax can be done by two ways. Either it can be paid through the cash ledger or it can be paid through the credit ledger. So maybe you can pay cash for that, or you are paying through the credit ledger. So payment of tax is mandatory if you want to have the ITC. Then filing of valid returns. Filing of valid returns, you can say, is the fourth essential condition, that the registered person should furnish the final valid return for the supplies that he has received, and like the supplies which he has made. So what these all four conditions, you can say, not only one, but these all four conditions are required for availing ITC under section 16 subsection 2. So if any of the conditions are not fulfilled, then you will not be able to avail ITC under this GST Act. So I hope you all have understood what we have discussed up till now. For the further details, we'll take up more sessions in future. We'll talk about in detail more about the ITC.